All right, so there are two sections to this talk. One is what and why Universal JavaScript, where I will be talking about a little bit about benefits that it brings along. And then another one is a little bit on how we can build a simple isomorphic, universal JavaScript application, and also what are the pain points that you might face if you are building such application. All right, so that's me. Yeah. So I'm mostly doing front end at RedMart. In my spare time, I'm doing some work on like just looking around React Native. I've built a couple of apps on Node stuff, but that's pretty much it. Previously, I was doing some PHP and Java, hated it, and even did some native Android. So now mostly front end, web front end. RedMart is one of the leading online grocery stores in Singapore. We are technology and a logistic company, and that's RedMart. So just take a good look. We do deliver groceries via drones, in case if you guys want to order that. Yeah. All right, so moving on. OK, so what is Universal JavaScript? Some people refer to it as isomorphic JavaScript, some as universal. They pretty much mean the same thing. So universal basically means that universal JavaScript basically means that JavaScript code that can run in environment agnostic way. And in short, what it means is that it can run on a server and client, but also on phones, mobile phones, iOS, Android, etc. Isomorphic pretty much means the same thing as well. Just that I personally feel that universal gives it a good tag to a JavaScript. The intent message that goes around is like JavaScript that can be used everywhere, and I think that's going to help JavaScript itself. There is some discussion going around, like there are a lot of people who are saying that isomorphic is a more technical name, and it's a good, even though it might not be accurate, but so there are some people who prefer isomorphic. There are a lot of people are preferring universal as well, and then I have those two links which you guys can later go and check out and read more about it. OK, so why universal JavaScript? Why do we need to go to the trouble and like share code between client and server? Or what are the benefits that it brings us? So basically, when building a web application, it helps with some of these. So I'll go more in detail with each one of it. SEO, performance, and maintainability. All right, so SEO. If any one of you, I mean, a lot of you guys might have built single-page applications that only run on a browser. And so what happens is that when different bots, they come to our website, they see bots like Facebook, Googlebot. I think Googlebot now can read single-page applications properly and index them. But I think a lot of other bots still don't do that. So initially, when somebody comes to your, like a bot that comes to your website, it will see something like this. And if you notice at the root, class root, that's where your application is supposed to be mounted. But the bot will not wait for that. It will just index this page, which will have no information about your website. So to please these bots, we have to do various hacks. One of the hacks that we are doing at RedMart right now is something like this. So what we do is we, on Nginx level, we check if the user agent is one of these bots. And then we will try to reverse proxy to our internal service that is running a headless browser like Phantom.js, which will wait for the whole JavaScript thing to load, CSS everything, patch it together, and then give it back to Googlebot. And we also keep it in Memcache so that we can quickly get back to Googlebot. So there's some work involved there. We are running like 2 medium instances, and sometimes they break due to various reasons. We have to maintain it. And then one of the worst thing about this approach is, there might be better ways, but one of the worst things about this approach is like, you have to put bots there, and then every day there's a new bot. So recently, like Slack also has a bot, so when we paste our website on Slack, it just shows nothing because Slack cannot read our website. So Universal JavaScript approach actually fixes this issue. What it does is like your same application code that you're building currently in single page application that only runs on a browser can render the same thing on the server and push it down for bots to just directly get that information. Before I move forward, I'll just quickly show you guys how this website looks like. So this is RedMart. Right now, it's like working fine, and then now I'll serve it with. So I'll fetch it as a Google bot, and you guys will see that like it'll be a bit broken, but at least like you'll see the things that are being done to it when we are using Phantom.js or something. Let me just fetch that again. And yep. So now you can see all the information. I mean, all the content, web content is in here compared to the one that we fetch as default, like as a browser user agent. Yep. So you'll see something like, there's some code somewhere here that where the mounting happens. But yeah, again, there's no full content. And performance. So the one that is on the that is saying client-side rendering, you can see that how the browser actually renders this is like it will download HTML. It will wait for JavaScript that is inside that HTML to be downloaded. Then it will try to evaluate it, and after that, it will, maybe in our case, it will try to make some AJAX calls, and only after that, user will see some content. It works fine in some cases, like especially on desktop. Like it's not that of a big deal where you have a good connection, especially in countries like Singapore. But when you're mobile and then there is a high latency and low bandwidth, then you start to see a lot of performance issues. On this side, you can see that server-side rendering actually, what happens here is that as soon as you download the document, it has everything, and user just sees it, and you can still download the JavaScript app and do all the other stuff like rehydrating it and maybe making some additional AJAX calls if you want to, or you can just render everything on server-side. So there's some clear big performance gains when you do server-side rendering. Maybe this this performance issue will get better with HTTP 2, but for now, like I mean, I think still it might not get that better, but I think this helps, and yeah. Maintainability is not a big issue when it comes to single-page application like what we build at RedMart, because it's a backbone application. All the code is in there. We don't have any server application that is rendering it. We just have RESTful API, so it might not be a big deal, but I think for applications like which have some partial stuff being done on a server and then loading some single-page application to a browser, and you're sharing some stuff like formatting, etc., or doing some data mutation, I think you can share that logic. Universal JavaScript helps with that as well. All right, so how do how to build a universal JavaScript app. There are many ways, and like frameworks like Meteor, and they actually come up with a lot of packages that, or I think by default also Meteor has this is server, etc. All that stuff can help you build universal JavaScript app. But let's say if we are using React or something else, how do we build it? We're just going to dive into some coding here and see how to build a basic universal application using React and Node.js. So let's build something like this. This is the component hierarchy. So we have input, we have some progress.js, and then we have search results. So you type something, and then we'll just try to fake that search result for now because we are not using any API or anything. It will take some time to build the whole Flux or some other layer there. And yeah, we have a wrapper app.js. So let's get to it. All right, so I have this basic template here, which I'm going to use to build a universal JavaScript application. So I'll just quickly run through what we have. So I've already have some Node modules that I've installed so that I don't have to do npm install again. And then I have some Webpack config for bundling the application, etc. So this is my Webpack, very basic stuff. So it's going to look for client.js, which is not there yet. And it will output a bundle.js in a dist folder, which is not here yet. And we are going to use ES6 and stuff. So I have Babel loader here, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And for Webpack, and then I have index.js. So it's doing pretty much the same thing for the server side. So it will set up it will initiate it will register a Babel here, and then it will look for server.js and execute it. So let's build a single page application that just runs on a browser first, and then we can do the server side. So I'm just going to go here, and yeah, by the way, I have some code already with me, so I'm just going to paste it there, or like even write some and probably talk about it, what it is, than actually typing each and every line. All right, so let's do this. Let's create client.js, and let me just look at. All right, so this is what I have here. So what it's doing is it's actually, yeah, it's just mounting the app container app. So difference between never mind, I'll go in detail later. So app is just a React component that is actually composing a couple of other components in there, the one that we saw in that diagram in the slides. So it's going to mount to the root. I have index.html here, which has this basic HTML template. So we are going to route here, and then we have this bundle.js. Let me just, yeah, okay. So, yeah. So, yeah. So our client application will be bundled and will be kept in static/bundle.js. Right now, that's not done. So I have this. Let's go ahead and create our app.js. So in app.js, what we have is like we are importing some components like input, search results. So if we go back here, we have an input, progress bar, search result. So I'm pretty much loading that stuff. I have some additional stuff that's not in the slide as like result card. So each of the result has a card that see there, like this one, this box here. And we have some data in data folder. So let's just quickly bootstrap that and components. All right. All right, result card. Yes. So this is a stateless component. React recently released this, so you can actually write a component in this way, which is like pretty cool. And yeah, what it does is just take some props and just renders a component. Add one more here. This one. This one just renders children's prop. That's it. It's like a wrapper, nothing else. And let's just. All right. Okay. All right. So let's have a look at here. So what I'm doing is I'm just initializing some state. I have some product data. Let me just create a data and products. Is it products.js? Yep, it's product.js. All right, so I'm just going to copy this data. So this data is just like a title and an image of that product and a URL. That's it. All right, so let's just close others and just open our app.js. And yep, okay. So all right, what's happening here is I'm just initializing some state for this application, for this component. I have some products. I'm just putting all the products in here, and then what I'm rendering is just all the products initially, and then then on input I have handle on submit where as soon as user enters something, he will be shown. We'll quickly change the state to progress to loading, and then we will simulate some sort of like asynchronous operation. So it will go somewhere and try to fetch it, but actually it's just trying to like get two of the products randomly from that product set that we included up here. Yep. So let's run this, and all right. Yeah, so before I run it, let me just show you how my package.json looks. So I'm just running these two commands, and like there is better way to do it. Like you have to, like people run watch and stuff, but right now for this one, I just try to keep it very simple. So I'm just going to run webpack, and which will create a bundle, and then I will just run a node index.js, which will just execute the server. That's it. So run. All right. Run start. Wait. All right. Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, we don't have a server, so let's just open this directory. And yeah, this is a very bad way to do it, but we'll just, yeah. So this is how the application looks like. And I have some CSS that I prepared earlier in here, some ugly CSS, no preprocessors, just simple CSS. And yeah, so if you see now, what it does is like it loads the application, and then after JavaScript is loaded, it will actually populate it will mount the component, and you can see that React component is mounted. And so functionality is just this. I'm just going to type bread, and it's like freaking dumb, and it will just like randomly give me something, banana or something, and that's it. And let's render this on server. And so I'm just going to create a new file called server. .js. And all right, so I'm just going to import Express from Express. So I have server prepared already. Let's just put here, put it there. All right, so what I have here is a very simple, bare minimal Express server. It's what it's doing is it's taking that same app container component, and it's using this HTML wrapper, which I have to create yet. What HTML wrapper is pretty much the same thing, which I'm just going to put it in here as a node module. So wait, what am I? Okay. So. Okay. All right, so yeah, it's it's just a wrapper. It's just a wrapper function. I'm passing app to it, and then it's just appending app here. That's it. Nothing much. So on server, yeah, this should just do the magic. And yeah, about this section, what we are doing here is I'm just running a static middleware so that it can actually take bundle and style on the server as a static files. And this middleware here is just sending the response back after putting everything together. We are using render to string. This is provided by React itself. What it does is actually it converts everything to string, and that's it. It passes back to the client. And then on client, when you try to mount it again, what it does is it won't replace the whole thing if it matches the DOM. If the DOM is same from the server and the client, it will not try to replace it. So let's do this now. Let's see. All right, so yeah, it's running. I don't have any messaging there, so. All right, let's open our localhost 3000, and let me just move this a little bit here so that I know what's going on. All right, let's have a look. So earlier when we saw, it was the document was empty. There was no, I mean, it wasn't empty, but there was no server-side rendered content in there. But let's see now. So yeah, now you can see that there is some React stuff here that directly came from server. And then you'll notice something here in your, yeah, in here that there is something called data React checksum. So what it does is that on a server side, it will generate something like this, a number, or I don't know, like sometimes it's hash. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is, but like it will generate a unique key that is compared on the client side when we are doing something like this. So when I'm mounting this application on the client side, it will try to compare this, and then it will just like, it will just continue from where it left off. Now, let's say if the DOM is different on the server than the client, so let's say I do something like a super quick one. Let me just do something like this. I'm just going to define a global. I hope this works, and I haven't tested it. So on here, sorry, on Webpack, sorry. Here I will just do something like, let me just, false, and yeah, let's, sorry, I can just do something like this. Window.server. Let's give this a try. And so what I will do is probably let's go to one of the components, and or we can just do it in the app, is so if I have something like this, server, let's give it a try. I will do this, and so on a server side, I'll just return something like this with class name, some gibberish, and then I'll just do a normal progress bar here. And let's see if this works. I haven't tested this out. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, my bad. All right, so now you can see that this is throwing some, React is throwing some warning here that says that attempt to reuse markup in container, but checksum was invalid. This generally means blah, 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 that your server-side render is kind of useless. So you have to make sure that your DOM is same, what's on, your markup is same that you throw from server, and then you mount it on the client. All right, so that was just a basic, basic isomorphic app, universal app, sorry. Let's skip this since we built this already. And yep, done. But was it so simple? Like, I mean, is that it? Not really, actually. This is very basic stuff. And building a universal JavaScript application using React, Node, and tools like Flux, Redux is a bit more complicated because of several things. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So tricky parts. Let's look at a more complex application. So I'll just close this one, and we'll just have a look at this one. So this is something that I built over the weekend, and like what it uses is it uses Redux as a state. Redux is a predictable state library. What it does is like you can create reducers, and then it will create a store object for you, which you can use in your application and maintain a state across the application. So similar to Flux, not really same as Flux, but I wouldn't go more in detail there. So what are we doing here is, no, I have this here. Sorry, this is, yeah, sorry, this is the application. All right. So what I do is if I search for bread, I should get a bread. Yeah, internet is slow here. I think so. So yeah, I made a real API call to RedMart API, and then it gave me bread. And now if like more complex example would be this, like, right, so people might directly go to this bread page instead of going to a home page, and so if I just directly go to bread, what I see is, yeah, everything is in here, rendered on the server side. There is no Ajax call that was made. And also, you will see something here. So this is the state that was passed from server to the client side. And what happened here is that something was done on the server side. Like we fetched that data, we packaged it together, and then we dehydrated this stuff into this initial state. And then on the app, on the client side, we rehydrated it, and app will continue to work exactly the way it's supposed to work. So let's say if I fetch milk now, I will get an Ajax call that will get me a milk. And yeah, it got me some milk. Yep. And yeah, I mean, yep. So, all right. Okay, so that is more close to some real application. And so what are the tricky parts here? So one of the things is that when you have a complex application that is making which has several components that are making AJAX calls, and they have their state maintained in the application, you want to somehow get that stuff and push it to client so that you can continue from there. So that's where actually things started to get messy. So in this case, I'm just showing a very quick example of Redux. You guys can have a look at it later more in detail. I'll share the code as well. So what's happening here is that I'm just creating a store on the server side using all my reducers. So things like in this case, it's just a search reducer that actually gets the data and then generates that reducer object. And then I'll just create a store using that, and then I will dehydrate for the client by just getting the state from that store, and then I will just serialize, stringify it, and then somewhere in my HTML, and then pass it down to the client. And on the client side, what I will do is I will just pretty much follow the same code that I have in the server side for initializing a store, and I will just pass an initial state to it. So it will continue from where it left off. Yeah, so it's a bit more complex than that, but in a nutshell, this is what actually happens. Another tricky part building these kind of isomorphic app is that now you have to deal with things like this. You used to use AJAX and make a AJAX request, but now you can't use that anymore on the server side. And there are ways to do it. You can do what I did earlier, assign a global. You can use that global for certain specific things, but for such cases, it's a mess. Just don't use it. Don't do something like this. The HTTP request is a node module, and then it's HTTP is node module that is making a request. And then if it's not a server on a client side, what I'm doing is I'm making AJAX requests. So this is a bad way to share code. In some cases, you have to do it, but better approach is look for universal or isomorphic modules that are already there. In this case, using isomorphic fetch. And I can use the same thing. I can use this fetch API that will be in the browsers soon. I think it's already in some of the browsers, but I can use that on browser and the server with the same code. I don't have to change anything. All right, so this is a hard problem, and then there are some frameworks out there actually who solves it. I think LJS and a couple of others, they have stuff that actually does this data fetching part. But in our case, let's say in this application, it's very let me just open that application and just show you guys. Or I can just show, yeah, I can just show it from here. So what's happening is I'm in my server, I'm running this fetch search term result. When I go to hello, it is passed to this, and then it will try to make a HTTP call on the server, etc. It will build a new state for the application, then it will pass it down to the client. So this is very simple, because in this case I'm just doing one thing, I'm just building a search application, that's it. There's nothing more to it. But let's say if you are looking at something like this, our RedMart mobile website, so if I want to load everything, there's at least 4 to 5 API calls that are made. Then I have to think of a different approach. So in this case, what happens is that there are several ways to do it. One of the ways is that in each of your handler components, the main components, app is a wrapper, but beneath app, you might have landing pages, search pages, etc. You have to have something like this, a static function. Then what you can do is actually you can get the list of all the components on the server side, loop through all of them, look for these functions which are returning promises, and then you resolve all the promises, build that store using Redux, and pass it back to your application. Yeah, but you have to write a lot of code for that, unfortunately. Another tricky part is in data fetching is that you want to prefetch some of the stuff, like the navigation and that categories at the top, but data for that. But maybe this product list you don't want to prefetch. You want to fetch it on client. You want to show a spinner for whatever reason. for now, you can immediately do it, I think, using component did mount, and it shouldn't cause much of a problem there. But yeah, I mean, then what happens is that you will have to define two dispatch functions, one in component did mount, which will fetch something like this, which is okay, shouldn't be a problem, but it's not a really good way. There are some libraries that help you do that, like React Fetcher is one library, and then with help of some promise middleware, you can actually patch things up and do something like that. Yeah. But this is something I'm still researching. We've done something like this, but I haven't done that. Like probably this new stuff. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. And the application that you guys just saw, this one, it's using Redux and a couple of other stuff. And it's hosted on our GitHub. So feel free to look at it and give feedback. It's not a really beautiful code, but like, yeah, just in case if you guys want to have a look. So yeah, it's out here. There's no README. Yeah. All right. All right. So that's pretty much it. And this is the resources. This is what I went through, and I think if you guys have a look at it, there's tons of universal application related content out there. Yeah. Yep.
Hi. Thank you, Sarmad.
Hi. So question, RedMart doesn't use React right now, or this type of universal app?
It does, actually. So our main website, the one that you see on redmart.com, actually uses React all the way, but we are stuck with Backbone, and it's like a really complex application. We are trying to move away from it. So what I did is like I talked to PMs and got like 1 month of time, and we built a mobile website using Redux and all that stuff, so that we can show it to them how it looks like, and it's more easy to build stuff. So yeah, yep. So we are going to move to this, whatever I showed, for the main website as well. Yep. You can access RedMart from mobile phone, and it will give you the mobile website. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
We have done with the same methodology. I need to ask you how you deal with the cookies, kind of the cookie stuff, because the cookie on the server side and client side is totally different.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I run into that issue. We share a user session token for a logged in user between both the applications. And apparently for this case, I had to do that thing. If server do this, if client, then do that. I think I'm looking for a module that can help me do that effectively. On client side, we are using JS cookie module, but that doesn't work well on server side, and actually it doesn't work at all, I think. I don't know, I haven't dig more into that. So we are just using Express cookie on server side for now. Yep.